Conversation is swirling about play calling again. Is there confusion on the sidelines in Auburn?
Midweek Report brought to you by our friends at the Rage Room. If you're in the Opelika area, or if you're in Birmingham, you can visit them at 1510 2nd Ave in Opelika or 2616 7th Ave South in Birmingham. You can throw axes, you can break windshields, you can do all of the above at the Rage Room. Get your rage out at the Rage Room. Join as a member. $5.99 a month will get you there. We appreciate our patrons. If you're looking around the chat and you notice everybody has a green name, but you, it's because you haven't joined as a patron yet. Hit that join button. Join the greatest live Auburn community that exists. Our patrons have special access on game day to some game day chats that are a lot of fun. We restrict access to pregame and halftime, especially to only our members. We appreciate you guys for doing this. Smash the membership button. Help us grow the Green Name Gang. Check your emails, guys. If you're a non-Green Name person, and you interact with our channel at the high level, you're likely to be on the receiving end of one of the gifted memberships that will inevitably be given away today. So please, let's see if we can get 20 given away. I appreciate everybody who does this. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code reporter to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. And our friends at setsforsociety.ai. Get to know yourself. Get to know how you relate to a team, how a team can relate to you. Want to learn how others think, how you think along with others? Setsforsociety.ai has custom personality assessments that let you know just that. You can visit setsforsociety.ai to get your custom personality assessment started today. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. Check us out on podcast, all the podcast platforms. We are there with lots of great audio-only content. The Auburn Express Uptempo College Loop, Just a Sec, and the War Report Gaming channel. Guys, follow us on podcast. Turn on automatic downloads and make sure you tune in. Lots of great audio-only stuff that we post over there. So please help us grow on that end. We've been burning up the podcast charts. We want to continue that. We can only do so with your support. That being said, it's time for the show.
Yes, indeed. It is time to get into this conversation. Mike G, this isn't new, right? Like the talk around splitting the play calling duties and who's going to be calling plays when, not a new conversation. It's one we've really been having for the better part of a full season last year and going into this offseason. But I guess people were hopeful that they were going to change course and have some new revelation of what play calling was going to be like. A tweet out there by a member of On3 was talking about how play calling duties would fall to Derek Nix on first down and Kent Austin on third down, with Hugh Freeze having the first right of refusal, I guess you can say, to jump in and give his input whenever he would like. What are your initial thoughts when you hear that or when you read that?
I think this is the first time we've heard it spelled out this way. We've heard him say that everybody calls some plays before, so you're right. This is not new.
If I recall, last time it was portions of the field, though. Like it was like between the 20s, it's this, and red zone, it's this.
I don't even remember that. I do remember him saying, I call some plays, Kent call some plays, Derek call some plays. I hate this. I hate that we're talking about this.
Let me on board with the I hate this train.
Because here's what could happen. When things go wrong, somebody in the media, i.e. us, is going to say, who called that play?
Correct.
And then he has to, at that point, either take, responsibility or credit or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
And he's already kind of been accused of being a guy who takes the credit when everything goes right, but then, spreads the blame when things go wrong. This creates another storyline that I just wish they would just stop putting this stuff out in the media, man. Now, this wasn't Freeze. This was the
Right.
assistant that put this out here. But it seems to be a characteristic of this staff, Ike, that, when they talk to the media, they say things that then become bulletin board material. And I think that we will hear about this game one. So, it'll be interesting. There will be a talked about call during the Baylor game, good or bad for Auburn.
Yeah.
Now, go to the post game, or you'll go to the post game because you'll be there, and you're gonna want to know who called that play.
Yeah.
Whether it was a cutesy something with Ashton Daniels or I don't know, man. There's just some things, and that's your job as an analyst, as somebody who covers it. That is your job. As a fan, I hate it. I don't want to hear about it. Just go out there, do it, and if it goes right or wrong, I want to hear the head coach take responsibility. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's all it comes down to. So I want to reiterate: if you are new to the War Report, or maybe you just don't pay attention to the media that often, this is not a new thing. This is something that has been talked about, but we've just never gotten this kind of detail about how that works. And now that we have it, I hate it even more. I hated it then, but I hate it even more.
So here's my question. Here's my question to you, Mike.
Okay.
Is there a possibility that people are misunderstanding what is being said here, right? Like, I give you two plausible scenarios here.
Okay.
And I'm piecing, and I'm always piecing together. He said this at this time, and then he said this. I'm trying to fit the jigsaw puzzle together to make it make sense. Hugh Freeze was very explicit when talking about Malcolm Simmons last year. And he was like, we went into the meeting room and I was like, I don't care what it is. Give me, not us, not the triumvirate of play callers. Give me a square that just says Malcolm. It seemed very clear he was holding the play sheet and he wanted people to give him an option for things to say, get the ball to Malcolm right here, right? So that felt very clear. Hugh Freeze holding the play sheet, right? Is it possible when they say this, they are just talking about game week preparation and first down options are what are going to be provided by Derek Nix, and third down options are what are going to be provided by Kent Austin, and he consults with them before putting the play call in to the quarterback for those situations? Is that possible?
I guess that's possible. Like, I yeah, I think that's possible. The question I have is, in a speed of game scenario, how efficient is that? When you got to get
Depends
a
on how
call in,
often you're asking for opinions, I guess.
yeah, right. And if they're trying to go fast, like, how is that getting communicated in the quarterback? Can Jackson Arnold hear all three of those guys in his helmet?
I hope not. That is where it would become confusion for me,
Yeah,
is
I
like,
had
who's
so many
talking?
questions. I had so
Yeah.
many questions. Like, I think that potentially would be annoying to me. I guess, or are they relaying the calls to one person who is then talking to the quarterback?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I,
and that would, so I mean, I think that's so Coach Freeze is supposed to be talking with the media tomorrow. I would be completely shocked if the conversation surrounding tomorrow's media availability didn't center around, well, somebody's got to ask this question when Coach Freeze is in front of the media tomorrow. But that's essentially my biggest question around all of this stuff is, okay, so if somebody's in charge of this and somebody's in charge of this and you got people popping up here and there, how often is Jackson Arnold going to be hearing a different voice? Are you guys practicing this? Like, on first down, he's hearing Derek Nix and he's expecting to hear that. How quickly is that information getting relayed? How often is Derek Nix jumping in there to make a play call and then Coach Hugh Freeze is like, no, I think we ought to, like, that's where it gets confusing for me. Is like, I just, now that you have that communication to him, who is doing the talking and how often is that voice changing?
Yeah, I think I can't help but think back to fourth and short versus Georgia, and a call gets called in. Hugh Freeze says, "That's not what I called." Uh, but did he call it, or did somebody else call it and he relayed it? Or, Peyton had a different story.
Yeah.
And, he came back and corrected it and said, "We now know what Peyton was seeing, and we're okay with the call he made." But he was very not okay with it after the game. So something did not go the way he thought should have been communicated. And I can't help but wonder if this kind of strange play calling thing that they have set up attributed to that. Will we see more of that in crunch time? Uh, I don't have a basis, Ike, for saying that this is normal or not normal. I would love to talk to other SEC coaches. And
So
hey, man,
I
they have
Dustin and I
multiple.
actually talked about this yesterday on his show. I think that it might have gone live on the show today, but we had this conversation and he was like, this, they do this at Tampa. He's a big Tampa Bay Bucks fan. He's like, they do this at Tampa. They have two different guys that are responsible for different things as far as play calling. And the media that follows the team was remarking on how well they worked and seemed to be one unit to make this happen. And I was just like, okay, so it's not unheard of. This isn't the only time it's happened. And again, Hugh Freeze says this is something he's been doing. Like, it's not new, a thing that he's done at Auburn. So it's worked before someplace in his history. The question is, why is it not working at Auburn, and how much do we really attribute the chaos that's happening? For year one, I think I would understand it, right? Because you got a guy in here who's calling stuff you're not as familiar with, so you can't do the handoff the right way. Year two, maybe because it's a new group and you're trying to get that groove. But now you're in year three with year two of the same voices. Does it get better? I don't know, man. Like, it's confusing for me, and I would love some clarity from Coach Freeze about it.
Yeah, I mean, now that it's out there, like I said, I prefer it just never had been said. But now that it's out there and we resurrected this conversation, I think I would like some clarity as well too. The bottom line is play calling has to be better this year. It's got to be better. And Auburn's lack of points at times last year can be attributed in at least some regard to play calling. Now, execution by players, the offensive line, all that stuff I get factors in as well too. I'm not saying it was all play calling, but situationally there were some odd calls at times. Decisions to run wildcat on the goal line instead of just handing it to a guy who averages 6.4 yards per carry. Some of the cutesy trickery things that they did at times that almost never worked.
Yeah, I can't think of a single trick play that worked last year.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that halfback pass, and you astutely noted that the guy was open in the Iron Bowl. The problem is they haven't been able to execute that stuff all season.
Yeah.
And that's what would have kept me from calling it. Yeah, the guy was open, but we haven't executed it. So let's run something we can execute. The timing of these things is what I'm bemoaning. So it's got to look markedly better. This is why when we have the conversation about will 7 wins be acceptable, I always go back to no. Right. You pointed out some scenarios that you think, okay, well, if this happens or that happens, I see those. I see that argument. But ultimately, you just have to get it done no matter what it looks like. 8 wins, just get it done. And make 7 wins a non-conversation. Just take it out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, I would love for it to not be a conversation.
Yeah, I don't have a conversation about
ultimately,
it. Yeah.
I don't want to have the conversation about what are we supposed to be doing with a 7-win Coach Hugh Freeze in year 3. It's not a conversation I want to have at any point in time.
Yeah, we're going to be having it if they go 7 wins. I'm telling you, there are only a couple of scenarios where there are not a ton of questions about whether he should be the coach next year or not. Now, one of the common responses that we get to this on social media is, but we can't have a new coach every 3 years. And I hear you on that one. That would be something that I would put in the bucket of, yes, let's just ride this out for another 2 years and see if it gets better. That way, if you decide to move on, you gave them 5 years, at least there will be a talent base for the new coach to work with, because they are
Right.
recruiting well. And if you're Auburn, you got to hope, if it comes to that there's somebody out there that moves the needle for you in terms of excitement and recruiting. And you can give that person just as much resources as this coach has gotten. But I'd rather have Hugh Freeze see this through with the guys that he brought in, because look, I know years 1 and 2 didn't go the way a lot of fans would have wanted to, Ike, but you got to give, like, if we're going to sit here, we're going to criticize him for certain things, you have to give him credit for the things that he does do well, and that has been bringing in talent.
Yeah.
Now, he's got to figure out quarterback. I will repeat that. Jay Crane said this to me. He said, you can be bad at the things you're bad at, but you can't be bad at the things you're good at if you're going to be the coach at Auburn. It's primarily why we got rid of Gus. You're supposed to be good at offense, and Auburn is terrible on offense.
Yeah.
Time to move on. So, when you come out and you say, we got 3 guys calling plays, this guy on first down, this guy on third down, and then Coach Freeze just jumps in whenever he feels like it, that better work.
Right.
Especially this year.
I mean, this becomes a non-conversation if and I guess here's the thing that we have to remember in this conversation too. The black eyes that happened last year, follow me here. I get it. If what they say, if it's and buts, we're like, I get it. All right, put that aside and talk about the production that the offense seemed to be having as far as year over year, more explosive plays. It seemed as if it was working. The issue became, because I don't attribute 5 turnovers in the Cal game to too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Like, those interceptions weren't about who called those plays. The fump, like, none of that stuff in that game was about who called the plays,
Okay.
right? And so there are some things that went wrong offensively last year that have absolutely nothing to do with play calling. And there are some things that went right last year, if we're being honest, had nothing to do with play calling. Cam Coleman catching that amazing catch where he's falling backwards with one hand, that's not because you made an amazing play call. It's because you have an amazing player making a play, right? And so, like, I understand the people who are frustrated around this conversation, but this conversation becomes irrelevant if you have success on the field. Like, it doesn't, at that point in time, you don't really care if there are 15 people on the sidelines, each of them holding up a different call sheet on every play, and it was a 15-play drive, and they just went down the line. You don't care if you're winning. It worked.
Yeah, but
the problem is not winning the games.
The improvement that we're looking for in year 3 is situational. It's in the red zone. It's when Auburn is in scoring position. What are you dialing up that's going to get you across the line? I can't remember if it was on our live show, if it was another Auburn Express episode, but we went over the stats. Auburn moved the ball at a pretty average rate.
Yeah.
I would say even a little better than average. Go back and look at the numbers, guys. Baylor played an extra football game, but if you look at Auburn, they would have been pretty average in the Big 12 last year at, like, I think it was 5,200 yards that they had as a team moving the ball. Matter of fact, I got it right here. Last year, 2024, Auburn, 5,153 yards. Right in the conference. I mean, that was average right in the middle of the pack, like eighth or ninth. Texas was the best, but they have the best play caller in college football, if you ask me, Steve Sarkisian. 7,000 yards. Now let's correlate that with points per game. 33 points per game. Ole Miss, 6,800 total yards. 38 points per game. An awful Arkansas team, 5,900 yards, 30 points per game. And then you have Auburn, 5,100 yards, 27 points per game. And if you extrapolate the P4 numbers, it's a sub 20. If you just go on P4 numbers, they're under 20 points per game. So you're over 5,000 yards now. Let's contrast that with what Baylor did last year. 5,700 yards, but they played an extra game. Auburn only got 12 games. They had a bowl game, and in that bowl game, Ike, they played LSU, and it was a high scoring game. It was a pretty high scoring game. I think
both of those defenses were terrible.
Yo, man, 44-31 was the score of that game, if I remember correctly. LSU smoked them. But you look at that, and then in terms of total yards in that one, let's see here. Just let me. I want to make sure that the fans have this. Baylor has 445 yards. If you take that 445 yards away from their 5,700 yards and give them only 12 games, they're Auburn moving the ball. They are Auburn moving the ball. So I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to, it just comes down to scoring points, dial up the right plays in the red zone to get Auburn across that end zone line more times than they did last year. It felt like a lot of times when they were scoring, they were doing so outside the red zone. Think back to the Iron Bowl,
sure.
Big deep pass to Cam Coleman. But when they get the ball at midfield, you're sitting there as a fan and you're thinking, all right, well, here we are. Auburn's going to have to either throw a bomb in the end zone or give up essentially on the edge of field goal range because we don't trust the kicker.
Right.
Those were the options. Hugh Freeze talked about this. He said, we found ourselves doing a lot of things that we wouldn't normally do situationally because we felt like we couldn't trust the kicking game. Alex McPherson maybe changes all that. The play calling, when you trust the kicker, maybe a little bit more aggressive.
Right.
Than conservative across the 50. So there are things to look at here to say there's a basis for Auburn to be a much different team this year offensively. And it could look like a huge jump, but the truth is, statistically, they were on the verge of it last year.
If you take away, and I hear the groans when I say if you take away the turnovers that happened that killed, like you put another 7 on the board versus Arkansas, Damari Austin was walking into the end zone, right? Like, put another 7 on the board right there. If you don't have some disastrous tipped passes that turn into turnovers in a couple of games, right? Those drives don't stop there. And so you put additional yardage, maybe additional points on there. If you don't have a kicker who can't hit the broadside of a barn for some reason all of a sudden last year, you tack on a few extra points per game, and it looks like a completely different team. Most of those issues, flukiness aside, seems like they're solved during the offseason. Most of them. Now, all of your issues aren't gone, but most of them should be gone.
I just want to correct something I said earlier. I said they had 445 yards. They had 507 yards of offense. That 445 was their passing yards. They only had 62 yards on the ground. So I can't stress enough. If you take those 507 yards away in that extra game from scrimmage, they were Auburn. The difference was just being able to get the ball in the end zone, which when they played top 60 defenses, they didn't do very well at times. They beat one top 60 defense, still only scored 20 points in that game. Houston, 20-10. Now, I'm using them as an example because there seems to be all this optimism around Baylor offensively Yet when you look
Yeah.
at the numbers, they didn't really do much better than Auburn in every total facet of the game, except for
Right.
just the red zone in the red zone, and
Yeah.
and factor in the competition.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't understand people being, no, wait a minute. Let me not say that. I understand the skepticism that exists because people in their minds right now, particularly if you're not a fan of Coach Hugh Freeze, feel as if he's not going to know what to do with this talent. It doesn't matter how much talent you give him, he'll figure out a way to screw this up. And my problem with that is, if you're saying like, and maybe that's just the case when you, for whatever reason, people get to Auburn and they lose their mind. Monstars came down and snatched away their ability to coach and call plays. But that just doesn't track with the rest of his career. It just, when he's had talented teams everywhere else that he's gone, had talent to be able to be a better team last year. But when he's had talented teams everywhere else that he has coached, he's won. I have to believe that that is going to be the case this year for Coach Hugh Freeze and company. They're going to find a way to get it done this year. How many wins that equates to, I don't know, but they got to find it.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking they were close, and we've got people in our comment section. You and I were talking before we started recording that are like, well, why can't the Baylor guys just be, this about their team? And, look, I recognize that Sawyer Robertson is a pretty good quarterback. The problem that I have is that when they take what he did and they compare him to Jackson Arnold and they start crapping on Jackson Arnold, I'm like, oh, wait. Right? Like, it wasn't that different.
Yeah.
And
So
they've clearly done no research on Jackson
the
Arnold.
whole conversation around Jackson Arnold is crazy. Like I've been having a conversation in the chat with a couple of Baylor fans about this, and they're making points that don't actually align with the reality of any situation that exists, right? Like they keep trying to remind us, which I'm keenly aware of, that Sawyer Robertson did not start the first few games for Baylor last year. Point blank period. I don't care. I don't care who started the first few games. I'm only looking at the performances by Sawyer Robertson, and he was a low 60s completion percentage guy and has been for 3 years. It's not like just all of a sudden he took a dip when he started. He's been a low 60s completion percentage guy with what they term to be a super talented team around him, that they just needed somebody who could perform better. Jackson Arnold went out there last year with what most people would consider, by any measurement, one of the worst wide receiver cores, one of the worst offensive lines, mostly due to injury, and was a low 60s completion percentage guy last year.
Yep.
So you've got super talented Baylor wide receivers last year with this extremely accurate quarterback, but he's throwing in the low 60s in completion percentage versus a guy who had no help last year and was still in the 60s. But you're telling me Jackson Arnold's the worst quarterback of those two?
Yeah, third and
Where
fourth.
are you getting your numbers from, bro?
Third and fourth string receivers. Third and fourth string receiver guys he probably hasn't been throwing to.
Right.
All spring. Even if they do have to, you haven't been throwing to them, in the offseason at all. It was very anomalous what happened to their wide receiver core last year. It is not a thing that you would sit here and predict. That that everybody gets hurt. Imagine if I sat here and be like, well, Auburn's got to have a plan if Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson and Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields all get hurt. What plan do you have for that? Like, right. What plan do you come up with for that scenario?
We're gonna start some walk-ons at wide receiver. Good luck.
Yeah, come on, man.
We're gonna shuffle the deck at offensive line every game because we got to figure out who the guys are going to be up front. So you're not going to have protection, and you're throwing to guys who aren't even on scholarship here.
Yeah, the plan would be we got to run the ball. That's the plan.
And they couldn't run the ball.
Yeah, which is what they did when you look at his passing numbers, under 300 attempts on the season. His attempt numbers looked very Peyton Thorne-ish the first year Peyton played at Auburn. I had questions about whether they were going to be able to get that up. 230 attempts, I think, crazy. So but the point of this conversation is not that Sawyer Robertson sucks. It's that if you think Jackson Arnold sucks, you have to apply that same logic to a guy who didn't lose all his receivers, who didn't have his OC fired midseason, who did not have an offensive line that was a mess with a bunch of injuries. Now you're our resident film guy, so I want to pose this question to you before we get to the break. Here, along with people saying that Sawyer Robertson didn't start the season or whatever. Well, it was 2 games, right? It was Tarleton State and Utah, where the other guy started. He didn't break 200 yards passing in either of those games. Robertson came in versus Air Force, right? 248 in a win. And then 3 straight L's to Colorado, BYU, and Iowa State. So I don't know why people are acting like he wasn't responsible for most of those L's.
Yeah.
He was it. He was the quarterback.
For the vast majority of the season, he was the guy. Again, that's why I say there's like, oh, you guys are acting like, no, I'm not. I don't care. None of what you're saying actually pertains to anything that I'm saying in regard to this. And again, I acknowledge, I actually think Sawyer Robertson is a good quarterback.
I think he's a decent
Skip
quarterback.
over that.
Yeah.
But again, when you start applying logic to the scenario and you tell me Jackson Arnold is a bad quarterback, and I'm like, hold on, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. Yep.
What are we using to determine this?
After the Iowa State game, which was early October, they went on a 6-game winning streak. They rescued their season from the bowels of hell. They started their season 1-4. I'm sorry, 2-4. Two wins against Tarleton State and Air Force, and then they lost their first 4 conference games. Come on, man. And the back half of that schedule was Charmin 3-ply soft. You played 1 defense worth of damn, and you lost. You know what I mean? And you won that game, but you didn't play very well offensively.
Right.
So I went back and watched the tape on that Houston game because I wanted to see. They were ranked 40th in scoring defense. And I wanted to see, how did they play against that? That game, it's kind of how Vanderbilt last year. Auburn lost, but it wasn't because Diego Pavia just lit Auburn up. Auburn lost because they couldn't move the ball, they couldn't score. That's how it felt. Houston versus BYU. Houston lost that game because they just couldn't do basic offensive things in the red zone. They lost by 10 points. So I don't know, man. And when you put the 2 schedules last year up against each other, and I take issue with people who say, "Oh, well, you guys this is a new year." Well, okay, yeah, it's a new year, but this is the same Baylor team on offense.
The vast majority of it is
9 of 11 starters return. This is the same Baylor team on offense. And they have one of the highest percentage of returning starters in the country of all P4 teams. Now, if you want to say to me, Mike G, I think that experience in another year improves and they gel and that will make them better, I accept that as a rationale.
It's a great point. That's a great point.
But there are very few Baylor fans actually making that point. Their whole argument about why Baylor is going to win is Auburn bad.
Right.
And I'm like, you didn't do that much better than Auburn in a lot of areas, if at all. Extrapolate the numbers, man. If you take out the bowl game, the extra game, They got maybe like 70 more yards on offense than Auburn did last year. That tells you that they were moving the ball. You just had a scoring issue. And for the record, anything over like 5,000 yards in total offense on a season is just above average. It's why when you go back and you look at seasons where the Heisman winner passed for 4,500 yards or almost 5,000 yards, those are remarkable numbers.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels put up over almost 4,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing. 5,000 yards of offense by one guy, Ike. By one guy, those are remarkable numbers. So, yeah, when you do it as a team, it will be about how situational that is. In some of these games, we see low yardage totals, but high scores. Sometimes it's turnovers and short fields and things that play into why a team isn't having to move the ball up and down the field a whole lot. So there are not a lot of long sustained drives. I couldn't find, looking at Baylor's games last year and looking at the numbers, I couldn't find a compelling argument as to why they were that much better off than Auburn was. You want to use the experience argument? Well, you know what? Our running backs were on the team last year. The whole wide receiver room returned, plus a guy everybody expects to go in the NFL draft next year. First round.
Yeah.
This is not like a new Auburn team either.
Yeah, they returned a lot of guys and then upgraded, in my opinion, at spots where they were bad. So,
the guys,
there's tons of reason for optimism.
Yeah, the guys they did lose. You could argue losing Keandre Lambert-Smith. You lost him. He ran out of eligibility. He didn't have a chance to come back. But,
listen, I'm not plugging the loss of Jarquez Hunter and Keandre Lambert-Smith. Those are huge losses to what you want to do offensively.
That's why recruiting matters, though. That's why recruiting matters. And if you're Auburn, you've been bringing in top-rated classes. So you may not have seen the next guy, but Hugh Freeze is trying to put this roster in a position where, you know how when you watched Ohio State, and it's like, damn, how do they always have a quarterback? How do they always have a guy who can sling it?
Yeah.
Insane. Bama, going back to Jalen Hurts, it was like, how do they always have a guy? They always have a guy. They had a guy like every year. And so people get used to that. And I think it's why a lot of folks are giving Ty Simpson the benefit of the doubt. All the other quarterbacks have been hits. It's really, really difficult to do. I think Hugh Freeze understands that finding a guy at quarterback is maybe a little harder than other positions to recruit. The evaluation is so subjective, and you just never know how a guy's going to perform when he goes out there, especially at quarterback.
Yeah.
So what you do is you do what he did. You raise the floor around him and say, you know what? I'm going to make your failure floor so high that even if you are below average, we'll still be able to move the ball and score.
Yeah. That has been his philosophy since he touched down at Auburn was, I am trying to basically put as much bubble wrap around this situation as possible that even if you fall, you will not fall apart.
Yeah. You may fall, but you won't fall apart. That's a bar right there. You may fall, but you won't fall apart. Tweet that. Yeah. Tweet that right now. So, in my mind, I like what Auburn has. I do think that it will be a competitive football game. I have said that I think that Auburn will win comfortably. I do think that they have, I think that they're a more talented football team, despite how they played. And if you have any questions about how this team, you should have questions about I accept everyone who has questions about potential coaching and play calling. And let me tell you something, that is a significant factor that cannot be overlooked. So if you come through and you're a Baylor fan and you're watching this and you're thinking, well, I think Auburn is going to lose because I don't think Hugh Freeze knows what to do with his guys. Based on how the first 2 years went, I mean, that argument sticks, especially if we're talking about red zone scoring. But you have to recognize all the things they were able to do last year, which everyone just looks at 5-7 and nobody digs any deeper to say, okay, like what comprised that 5-7? At
Right.
media days, I mean, look, all these guys that Auburn put on the C list coming off a 5-7 year, there was a recognition by the media that this is a talented football team. Some of the guys
Yes.
who made the list just came in. They haven't played it down at Auburn yet. Xavier Chaplin making it, Eric Singleton making it. Come on. I can't wait for football. We are just about 2 weeks away from this game. And I cannot wait for football because win or lose, we're going to find out a lot about how much progress this roster has actually made, if the coaches actually learned anything in the offseason. One of the questions that I didn't ask Hugh Freeze that I wish I did ask him when we got our one-on-one interview was, how much of in your review of 2024 did you critique yourselves? How much of that time watching film was, you know what, we made the wrong call here. And if this situation comes up again, we need to do it differently. And is everybody on your offensive staff on that same page? So when that scenario comes up, somebody calls it in from the booth and said, Coach, this is what we talked about. Let's dial it up. Coach says, bam, I hear you. This is the defense. This is the exact situation that we blew last year and we made the wrong call. Or do they do the same thing and achieve the same result? I think that the answer is the first one, because the talent has dictated that in their minds, the talent has dictated that they have the guys that they feel like they need to do things that we didn't see the first 2 years. Open it up, man. You don't recruit all these receivers to run 12 personnel. You have to get them on the field.
Yeah, you got enough guys to be able to go out there and give defenses every look imaginable to confuse what they thought they were going to see, because they haven't seen it so far on tape at Auburn. So it's like, I don't even know how to prepare for this because I haven't seen them run this stuff. So you got to go look at, I don't know, some old Ole Miss film from 10 years ago to try to figure out what they're going to run. I don't know.
Guys, if you're not a patron, sign up. I'm telling you, these film reviews are so valuable, right? Don't be like the Baylor guy, right? He watches zero film. If he watched film, there's no way he goes on that rant. Watch the film with Ike. Sign up, watch the film with Ike. There's value in that. Sometimes I know you have the all 22 to work with. That's a very, very valuable. That's the holy grail of film in our industry.
Yeah.
Now, if you're watching this and you don't know what all 22 is, it's the sideline shot that keeps all 22 players on the field in frame the entire time so that you can grade out everybody. It's a film I used to do in college for the Auburn coaches under Tuberville. And if you're in the end zone, your job is to keep the offensive, defensive line, the linebackers, maybe the safeties, if they're playing in close enough, your quarterbacks and running backs in the frame so they can primarily grade out offensive line and tight ends or anybody who would be tight end on the line at the start of the play. But those guys are not to zoom out at any point. They're supposed to just kind of like follow and keep everybody, again, in frame as close as they can so they can do it. And we have that film from time to time to break it down for you guys and say, hey, look, this is what happened here. The broadcast film doesn't show it. They got to follow the football.
Right.
Every once in a while, you might get a replay where they'll show a wider shot. But for the most part, you're not getting that. I mean, now they have ESPN does that. What's it called? The Sky?
Yeah, Sky Cam.
The Sky Cam, like they have a game. It's a whole feed of just Sky Cam footage, which is almost like all 22, but not quite. And sometimes that can be valuable in showing us what happened. Did a guy fall down out of frame? Like what happened on a play? But if you want to be a smarter football fan, sign up as a patron and hang in with us on those watch the films. That's what the basis for a lot of what we say on the show comes from that review. Ike watches it, breaks it down for us all. And then we come back to discuss it and say, okay, this is why I think Auburn is going to win or lose, or here's what I'm worried about. And all we have right now to go on is last year's film in spring ball. So,
which we don't have any real film from spring, so we just got to figure it out as we go. So.
It's Auburn and Baylor return so much of their respective football teams offensively that, I mean, I think there's a lot of value in looking back at what they did last season and saying, hey, like I said, I completely accept it. If you are telling me you think that, I don't know, I didn't dig this deep into it, but let's say Baylor was a young football team last year. In year 2 of a system, you could see a marked jump in performance. We know Auburn was very young at receiver. A lot of true freshman receivers last year. Malcolm Simmons should be one of the most dynamic guys in college football this year. If you didn't see the news, cleared of all charges. I won't go into his whole situation. But Humphrey said he was going 200 miles an hour just doing the wrong things at times because he's a true freshman. Now you've got a bunch of true sophomores in that receiver room. They may be, if they're going 200 miles an hour but doing the right thing this year, you got a chance to do something remarkable or get some remarkable production from that position group. Yeah, I think that the total running, Damari may not have the year that Jarquez had last year, but I think as a group, they have a chance to do better than they did last year. I think the offensive line it definitely has upgraded. And if they stay healthy and you're not shuffling guys, you had a couple guys make preseason all SEC there. Connor Lew, Xavier Chaplin, all SEC guys. If they play to their potential, Auburn, you just have a chance to do something that we have not seen since probably like 2019. And that was not a very good offensive football team. That was a great defensive football team. But you might have to go back to 2017 to see some of the stuff that we think we're going to see from Auburn here in 2025. Just my thoughts.
We will see what happens. And like you said, we're only a couple of short weeks away. We got to get to our break here. We're going to get into your comments because there have been a lot of comments flying in here.
Yeah, wow.
If you're in here, man, 243 people, only 57 likes. You got some time while this is going on to go hit the like button and get back. If you have a reason that you don't want to minimize your screen to do that, whatever, make sure that you hit the like button. Make sure you're sharing this content with somebody. We will be right back and get into your comments. You're watching Midweek Report.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
The Rage Room. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Set up a session today at one of the 2 great locations in Opelika or Birmingham by visiting opelika.rageroom.com or birminghamrageroom.com.
Join as a member, $5.99 a month will get you there. As I mentioned, those film reviews are very, very valuable, good for your health. Sign up and become a part of our Green Name gang. We reserve some privileges strictly for our patrons, especially during the season. You want to be a part of that group, so I appreciate everybody in advance. Give the gift of the War Report by smashing that gifted membership button. If you're on desktop, it may look a little different, but give away the gift of the War Report. If you interact with our channel at a high level, but you haven't made the decision to become a patron yet, this is your chance to maybe get one of these or give one of these. So check your email. If you have a black name in the chat right now, could have an invitation to accept your membership sitting there waiting on you right now. I want to thank our title sponsor, The Rage Room. Visit them at the 2 locations you see right there, whether you're in Opelika or you're in the Birmingham area. A great way to get some stress out, maybe do some team building. They also have like a paint splash room. That's a lot of fun. Take the kids, take your friends. The Rage Room, great sponsors. They're partners with the War Report. Also want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER, get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. And our friends at setsforsociety.ai. Get to know yourself with their custom personality assessments, teaching you a little bit more about how you can relate to a team, become a better coworker, a better partner, a better overall person. Setsforsociety.ai. I want to thank them for sponsoring this segment. And our friends at the Vibe Vault, you can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Check us out on podcast, all the podcast platforms. We are there bringing you all the great content you see on the screen here. Lots of stuff we reserve for audio only. So if you want to get in on that, just make sure you subscribe on podcast. And before we get back into the show, I just want to remind everybody, I know we ask you guys to do a lot of stuff. Join here, buy this, support this sponsor. But most of all, if you can't do any of that, just listen and tell somebody else to listen. We appreciate you guys there. That's the basis for everything that we do is you guys just listening, downloading, and hitting subscribe and turning on all alerts on YouTube and podcasts. Helps us a ton. It tells the algorithm that you guys love the content that we're bringing you. And I got to tell you, we've got some great content planned this fall. Hopefully Auburn makes it even better, Ike, with some wins.
Yeah, we are looking forward to seeing some wins happen because it makes those post games a lot sweeter when we can come in here and talk about wins. Even if they're frustrating wins, I would rather talk about a win in frustration than a loss because there's no fun in losing. All right, let's get in here to go to these comments. Appreciate A Deets for the gifted memberships.
There you go.
10 of those. Fire Freeze doubles them up and he gives 20 away. Thank you so much for those gifted memberships. A Deets comes back with a super chat. Mike's getting blurry again. Laughing out loud. Please use this for some better service.
Am I blurry right now?
Not right this moment, but it has been going in and out during the show.
All right, yeah, I'm on my way to fiber, Ike. They're bringing fiber to my extremely rural area here in the next couple of weeks. So for the season, I should be good to go.
Let's see here. Dustin Pace super chat says, appreciate y'all and all the wonderful coverage. War Damn Eagle. Dustin, thank you so much for showing up and for the super chat. We appreciate that as always. Another super chat just came in from War Dank Eagle, who says, in an act of penance last night, rewatched last year's Vanderbilt post-game reaction, felt like an hour in purgatory.
Yikes.
Mike and I I don't think I was on. I think I was at the Vandy game.
You did.
I don't remember actually what I was. I don't remember.
Was it away last year or home?
It was home game last year. You were definitely at the game.
Okay.
So you weren't on the post game unless you popped in from the stadium. I feel like I was at that game and I was not on the post game. I can't remember what the situation was with that. So, yeah, Vanderbilt game was not a fun one to watch. Those post games are always entertaining to watch again for sure. Had a chat here from Kaylin in Tuscaloosa. $70 raised for JC in the 5 minutes since Ike posted that. What awesome War Rapport family and Auburn fam. For those that don't know, there is a link pinned in the chat right now. Our guy JC is dealing with a bout with cancer right now, and he has a GoFundMe. That GoFundMe is linked in the chat right now. So please go over there, even if it's just $1 or $2 that you want to throw in his direction. Every little bit helps. Appreciate JC for the years of being a part of this War Rapport community, and want to wish him the best of luck in kicking cancer's ass. So hopefully you guys can contribute to that.
I'm sick of hearing people getting cancer, man. This disease.
Yeah, cancer is like definitely out here.
Yeah.
Being a dickhead. Excuse the language. Let's see. All right, let me get into some more of these chats here. Tori Moore says the first and third down thing doesn't make sense to me. Giving red zone responsibilities to one particular person makes more sense. I can't disagree with that. Red zone is a very particular type of play calling, shortened field, all that sort of thing. Even third and short is a very different kind of play call than what you would have for just every third down scenario. Third and short and third and long are very different play calling scenarios than like a third and medium, because the whole playbook is open to you. So I can see scenarios where segmented play calling absolutely makes sense because certain scenarios are special scenarios. If it's just happened intermittently throughout a drive, that's where it starts to fall apart for me in the logic train. But I'm sure somebody is going to make it make sense somewhere, or it's going to look like a cluster out there on the field, and we will have that conversation.
How much, like, what are your thoughts on having a play caller in the box versus on the field? You know, that's one of the things. I wonder if is any of those guys going to be there or calling plays going to be in the box?
Last year, if I'm not mistaken, Kent Austin was almost exclusively in the box, and Nix was on the field. But I could be wrong about that, because I think I'm pretty sure year one, Kent Austin was in the box, and maybe he came down to the field year two because of the difference in his title. And he wanted to be there with Peyton Thorne on the sidelines, being able to talk to him. But as far as where I prefer the play caller to be, for me, that's more a stylistic play caller thing than it is a hard and fast rule about what I prefer for a play caller. If you are an emotion guy and you need to kind of feel the sense of like what the players are feeling in the moment to help you understand how to approach the next drive, and you need to feel that energy, then you need to be on the sidelines. But if you're a big picture guy that needs to be able to kind of see everything from a sky, now that they have the tablets on the sideline where you can see everything, I don't know that it matters as much.
Okay, fair enough.
But yeah, I think, listen, whatever's going to work well for you. If you need to be out of the elements because you don't want to be cold on the sideline trying to call plays or super, like, I don't care. Whatever works. I'm really for whatever works for you type of thing.
Hold on, time out. So on the tab, are they getting all 22 feet on the tablets?
They're getting that sky view from the tablet. Yeah, they can see everything. Yeah. So yeah, I think whatever works well, I think they should just roll with it. I don't have a preference one way or the other. I think there's benefits to each one of them. So yeah. Thomas Lee jumps in. If all the plays are going through Hugh, then Hugh's calling plays. There's only one mic going to Jackson's helmet. There is one mic, but it's a channel thing, and it's not like only one person has the button to click to get to that channel, because everybody can listen in on the conversations, and multiple people have access to be able to jump in and say something. So again, that needs to be an organizational. And so this is something I talked about with Dustin as well. If it's organized, then that's all that matters to me too. Like, I just don't want people stepping on each other, being like, hold up, wait a minute, hold on. And he's like trying to hear, like, if it's a thing where only one person can have access to talk at a time, then maybe that works. But then you got people fighting to talk first. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, it feels weird, and I don't like it. I don't like it. It feels weird. I want some explanations. Marcus Holland says every school does it. I haven't heard every school say that they do this. So again, I think we need clarity on what that means. Teresa jumps in. Only one coach can talk to the QB is my understanding. Okay.
Okay.
Super chat jumping in here. Sorry, we try to prioritize those. Colton says Baylor played pass defenses ranked 39th, 27th, 40th, 20th, 1st, 133rd, 132, 23rd, 126, 28th, 104, 76. And in those games, he noted which ones were L's against the 39th rank. So a defense with a pulse, you lost. A defense with a pulse 40, you lost. A defense at 20, you lost. First, you lost. One against the guys in the 130, 126 range. You got 28th, and you got to win. 104, you win, and you lose to number 76. Big 12 defenses are continuously unimpressive. So to the lone Baylor fan actually speaking up in the comments tonight, I'm sure you have some context to provide to me, since you are saying that we don't have the proper context to understand why we're dissecting Baylor improperly here. Please tell me why Colton and what he's provided statistically is incorrect.
Yeah. I mean, if your answer is I don't know what, like, Big 12 quarterbacks are just so great, or like, I don't know, man. I don't know what they have to support that. I mean, that conference was on life support a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And without their flagship institutions that were Oklahoma and Texas, the quality of football dropped off quite a bit. It's part of why that conference is so wide open. You have a bunch of average football teams in there just kind of vying for a spot. And again, they have more parity top to bottom, I think, than any Power Four team league. But who's the powerhouse in the Big 12? What team in the Big 12 right now would you consider a college football powerhouse?
I don't have one.
I mean, I like the BYU has a solid fan base. I mean, they got a ton of money, and I really like Kalani. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah.
So there are some solid football teams in the conference for sure. But is there a powerhouse in that conference? It makes it maybe a little bit more fun because their race for their conference championship is going to be tight. And I think that Baylor is one of those teams that could surprise some people and win it. I mean, I don't know how many people would be surprised by that. They're right in there. They could take the conference for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a competitive conference for sure, right? And it's intriguing. But to the question you ask, who's the powerhouse? I don't know that there is a powerhouse. And in order to convince me that your team is good, you have to show me that they've beat, like, if your argument is, look at what they did last year, they're going to be better this year in terms of wins and losses. And then I pull up who you beat last year and I'm like, okay, you beat nobody though. So where's the quality win on this schedule that I'm supposed to be impressed by? Or you tell me, oh, look at his statistics. He threw for this many yards. And I look at the defenses he threw for those yards against. And I'm like, I don't know why that's supposed to be impressive. Again, I am not saying Sawyer Robertson is not a good quarterback. I think he is a good quarterback. Stop telling me he's miles ahead of Jackson Arnold when he didn't do it against anybody.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. That's not that there's no actual analysis that brings you to that conclusion. And then you say, oh, you're just a homer cherry picking stats. No, show me the statistic. I let you pick it. You pick the stat. And if you come back to me with wins and losses, I'm going to ask, who did you win against? Because you know what I can say without a doubt, regardless of how you feel like they got to the result, Jackson Arnold beat a team that was on the precipice of going to the college football playoff last year with a defense that was in the top 40. That actually happened last year. After he got benched, he came back and did that.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
That's facts. A couple of years ago, when or was it last year? When Jaden Daniels won the Heisman and Alabama and LSU played, he got hurt in that game, but he had a hell of a game before he went out. I mean, they lost that game, but he was balling. And they were not good defensively. LSU could not stop a fly from doing anything. Their defense was so terrible. He was carrying them. He was carrying them offensively, defensively. He was just carrying the team. When he went out of that game, he was 15 for 24 for 219 yards, 2 TDs, and 1 interception, and 11 carries for 163 yards and a TD. 3 TDs and nearly 400 yards of offense before he went out of that game. He's good. He's just good, right? And so when you look at the result, you can look at it and say, okay, this is a good quarterback. Because look who he was doing that to. Show me where Sawyer Robertson did that to anybody. Hell, Jackson Arnold beat Alabama last year, if I remember correctly. What was the signature win that he had? They're not the only team. I think that Auburn's stretch of games after Georgia, that 5-game stretch after Georgia, before Alabama, is it's pretty to me. It's pretty soft. Is as soft as that 6-game stretch that they saw when they went on a 6-game winning streak to end their season.
Right.
In the SEC West, you would have never seen that. You would have never had a chance to play that kind of schedule. But the elimination of divisions opened up the opportunity for Auburn to have a very Georgia SEC East like stretch, where right now as it stands in the preseason, I don't think there's an excuse for a loss in that stretch. I don't think you should beat all those teams right now. Maybe one of them ends up being better than we thought they were by the time those games get here, but right now I don't see why I can't excuse a loss in that stretch. They're going to have that opportunity this year. Baylor had that opportunity last year, and they should be fortunate that they did. Because had they not, they would have been a sub-500 football team last year. Auburn had that opportunity last year. This year, if you're Baylor, I don't know, man. This game will be a good litmus test, I think, for both teams. I think both teams are going to find out a lot about who they are as a football team, after game one.
For sure.
We're very
100%.
fortunate to get a game like this to start the season. I love this. I love that we have this matchup to start the season. I think that it
makes it more intriguing for us to have conversations about it, right? Because last year we're going into the year and we're trying to find a way to get some level of traction about an Alabama A&M game, and you just know you're going to steamroll that team when they walk in there. And so every conversation was what's going to happen versus Cal, and it became this massive letdown after the Cal game. But we don't have to wait and figure it out the gate. Friday night, you get Baylor on the road. You're going to find out a whole bunch of stuff about your team, like you just said. And good and bad, I am still not of the mind from a lot of people who are, if you lose to Baylor, your season is done. I'm like, no, you still have a really good opportunity to turn this around, but it does make your path a lot tougher. It just does, right? Like the math gets harder when you lose to that P4 team out the gate because of the ridiculous stretch of games that you have between Oklahoma and Georgia. And now you've made it where you really don't want to have to drop any of those games, and you feel like it's impossible for you to go undefeated in those games at the same time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah. You don't want to be in a
tough.
position where you need all of those games to rescue your season, right? And that's what Baylor had to do to rescue their season because it was headed south. South Carolina won 6 straight to end their season as well, too. After a pretty mediocre start to the year. So I'll be my eyes are, I think the eyes of the world are going to be on this one August 29th. The only other game on is Georgia Tech, Colorado.
Which again, a low key is a good game, right? Like, but I don't care. Like, I'll have to watch the replay of it because, first and foremost, I will actually be at the game, so I can't. Maybe they'll have it up in the booth or something, and Auburn's beating the brakes off of Baylor, so I turn my attention over there to that during the second half. I don't know. Maybe that's the only way I'm going to catch any of that game.
Josh Pate really, really likes Georgia Tech. He's been on.
I think they're going to be good.
Yeah. And, I think Dion post-Shador is going to be something that a lot of people want to see. He's not. They're handicapping him because he has Shador. Well, okay, he produced Shador though, so like, I don't know why.
Literally.
Yeah. I don't know why we're putting an asterisk by that he developed him. So this is going to be, I just think this is going to be a fun watch. It's going to be a fun watch to see Auburn go out to Waco and try to prove themselves, because to become the type of football team that they want to be at the end of the day under Hugh Freeze, you need to be able to go on the road and win games like this. You do. You need these non-conference P4 road games. The better teams go on the road consistently and win these games. Now, I think Alabama plays Wisconsin this year.
Yes.
I think, yeah. Do they go? No, they've got a.
No, it's at Bama. Yeah, it was at Wisconsin last year. It's a home game for Bama this year.
Right. They're at Florida State. So that'll
Mhm.
be interesting. There to see if Florida State's made any improvement. Obviously, they've had kind of like a nightmare run. But you want these opportunities. We're seeing this in the SEC more and more, where you've got all these great opportunities. You add Oklahoma and Texas to the conference, and then plus one of these great P4 games. I mean, I don't know. Can you imagine? I can't wait for an Auburn Texas matchup in Jordan Hare Stadium.
Yeah.
That's going to be ridiculous. That is going to be absolutely ridiculous. I don't know, man. Baylor is a good. I like that they put this game on the schedule. Is it a home and home? Do they come to Auburn next year?
Baylor? I don't think so.
It's not a home and home. Okay. Chat, help us out. Let us know if that's a home and home. I know that John Cohen. I think they were trying to, or they got Notre Dame on for like 2030. So, yeah, it's just such a great football game again to start the season. I like not starting the season with a cupcake. Get your team ready, man. They should be ready for this game, and I think that's probably the thing that is going to be the match of coaching wits. Which
the chat says it is a home and home, so Baylor will be coming to town.
They will be coming to town next year. Okay, all right. I love that. I love that for all.
Oh yeah, this becomes even more compelling for me because I did not know that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Baylor coming to town next season. After all of this crap, the Baylor fans have, this feels a lot like what it was with the Cal fans who were just so convinced. Now listen, it ended up that was a terrible game out in Cal that year, but they were just so convinced they were going to walk all over Auburn. Their players were talking like they were going to do it, and it made it feel very rivalry like. And yeah, I've grown a fresh level of distaste for Baylor fans in this process because they keep saying stuff that doesn't make sense. And I'm fine with you making good points, but I don't and having stuff that like I'm have a good point, have something to back it up. But then you have a good point, and then you say something so incredibly disingenuous and lacking in context and knowledge, and it makes me feel like, okay, yeah, I don't know why we need to have this conversation.
Who was the last Big 12 national champion? Was it Texas in 05?
I couldn't tell you.
I think I think it was Texas in 05. I can't think. Chat, cross me on this one, but I really want to say it was Texas in 05. It's been a long, and they're not in the Big 12 anymore. It's been a really, really long time for that conference.
Texas says the resident Big 12 expert here that is a Baylor fan.
Yeah, Texas in 05. Wow. I mean, they were on a pretty bad run there for championships. Obviously, the SEC was kind of dominating that slate up until the playoffs. But Texas in 05. So 20 years. It's been 20 years since that conference has produced a national championship. 20 years. And let me tell you, Ike, last year they had all their good football teams just completely crap the bed at the end of the season. I thought BYU was a lock for the playoff at one point.
Yeah, look, they were well on their way.
Oh man, Iowa State looked like they were in a prime position at one point. Colorado had a shot at it. Kansas State had a shot at it. All these teams just completely crapped the bed down the stretch. And it was hard to watch. I mean,
because they don't have defenses in that. Listen, I'm sorry. The defenses in that conference, by and large, were terrible. Yeah. They just were, man. Like, I don't know another way to say that and make it make sense to you. Go forget don't even look at the stats. If you don't want to believe what the statistics say, go and watch the film on how bad those defenses were. They just weren't good. And so when you had your opportunities late in the season, you couldn't rely on your defense to get stops.
Yeah.
You get into your bowl games, you can't rely on your defense to get stops. So yes, I believe that you've got quarterback talent in that league, 100%. I don't believe you could stop a freaking No, I don't think you can stop anything, bro. Like, you are one-ply toilet paper out here
Mm.
against diarrhea. It's not happening, fam.
I I think that Baylor fans are really underestimating this Auburn defense coming into this matchup.
For sure
You
they
know,
are.
yeah, I think they're
Well, or
over.
they're very confident in their offense, which causes them to think that they're invincible in some way.
Yeah, they're overrating their offense versus really, really bad defenses. And those are all in the numbers. As we mentioned, I dropped the numbers, on Twitter. You dropped the numbers here. Like, when you look at the defenses that they played, they beat one that was worth a damn, and it was Houston. And even then, they underperformed their offensive averages in that game. If there's some nuance to that, I'm willing to hear it. I'm telling you, Auburn, the Georgia player got on the podium at SEC Media Days, talked about how hard a trip it is going to Auburn to play, talked about that environment. They understand generally that this defense is good, that they paid DJ Durkin so much money this offseason. And the reason they did it was because what we saw on that side of the ball was beyond acceptable under the circumstances. Now, they had some areas for improvement, sure. They weren't a perfect defense by any stretch. But situationally, they were really, really good. And they bailed Auburn out of some really, really bad, spots. Kept them in football games. If they make any improvement offensively this year, I gotta think that Auburn is going to be on the right side a lot of those two-score games that they lost. Nobody ran Auburn off the field. I don't know why. If Georgia couldn't run them off the field and Bama couldn't run them off the field, why does Baylor think they're going to run Auburn off the field offensively?
Because they put up a whole bunch of yards against Middle Texas Tech or some shit. Like, I don't know. Like,
you scored 31 points versus LSU, a really, really bad LSU defense. But your
terrible
defense gave up 44. Yeah. I'm like, come on, man. But your defense gave up 44. They have to really hope that Auburn just doesn't play well in this game. If Auburn plays well, I don't think that Baylor has the horses to beat Auburn when they're playing well. They gotta hope Auburn is bad. I do think that Auburn defensively has the ability to slow Baylor down offensively. Yeah. I do. Well, they did it to a lot of people last year. Just nobody seems to be acknowledging that from the Baylor side, though. They're not digging any deeper than 5-7. And Hugh Freeze, and we don't like Hugh Freeze. Okay, all right. You're gonna find out. Hopefully, you're gonna find out. I called this one 38-21. I think Auburn finds their stride. I think Cam Coleman's an absolute star, and I think there's a chance that he draws so much attention in this game, Ike, that we may see somebody else go off as well too. Auburn, I hear me out on this one. Completely plausible. Auburn has a 150-yard receiver versus Baylor.
I mean, their defensive backs have not been good, so plausible for sure.
Yeah. I think it's really possible that you see a couple of big plays from Cam Coleman. They haven't seen a lot of tape on Perry Thompson. He didn't play a ton last year. I think he had 5 catches for like 120 something yards and a TD. This is gonna be fun to watch. I mean, this could be the most fun Auburn offense we've had since 2013. That offense was really, really fun to watch. And this could be the most fun offense we've seen in over a decade. But they have a chance to have a lot of fun on the football field with all these receivers and with a line that can protect a 5-star quarterback throwing to 5-star receivers.
Again, for me, that's what it comes down to. If Auburn's offensive line performs, and I keep saying this, at the level to which or better than they did last year, it's going to be a long day for a lot of teams next year because
Yeah.
I believe in Jackson Arnold's arm talent and those receivers that much. I just do. I believe in his arm talent and those receivers. And they were not a great offensive line unit last year. If they're average to above average, Jackson Arnold's talent makes it a long day with all of those receivers that he's got to throw it to.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know I don't know two ways about it to tell you about it. It's just, it is what it is.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun game. Caesar and I will be here in town for this one. You'll be there, so we'll get both ends of that. But I'm going to have a great weekend. UCF plays on a Thursday night. Auburn plays on a Friday, and so
Thursday night is so crazy.
Yeah. And then my weekend will be clear for whoever else plays on opening Saturday.
We got to figure out if we can do something on Saturday to just some kind of watch other people lose party.
Yeah, that week one. Let's see what else we get here. Week one, we get Iowa State versus Kansas State. There's a Big 12 thriller for you. Yep. And that's on August 23rd. Wow. Okay. So that's the previous Saturday.
Yes, week 0 game.
Yeah, week 0. We get Iowa State versus Kansas State. That's a top 25 matchup there, 17 versus 22. Boise State plays South Florida, Illinois, and Western Illinois. We get Texas, Ohio State. That's a banger. Tennessee and Syracuse. We get Indiana and Old Dominion, Penn State, Nevada, Georgia, Marshall, Alabama, Florida State. A lot of eyes will be on that one.
Yeah.
It's a 3:30 game. We get
wait a minute. Shoot, they don't play anybody worth a damn. I was about to say, who does Auburn play in week 2? We could watch that game, but I don't even know if it's going to be on TV. So that's not going to matter.
Network or SEC Network Plus.
Who does Oklahoma play week 1? We can maybe watch the first Oklahoma game on that Saturday.
Yeah, Illinois State.
It's not an interesting game, but I at least want to see money line Mateer out there doing his thing.
We get LSU Clemson in week 1. That should be a fun one. A lot. I know some folks who have the LSU tab to go deep in the playoffs. And then who
does Ball State play? Just for S&Gs, who does Ball State play? If they play a Power 5 team, then that might be worth watching just to see what they do versus another P5.
Ball State, 2025 football schedule. Ball State has Purdue.
Ball State versus Purdue. A couple former Auburn players on that Purdue team. Maybe that's worth a watch.
Yeah. There was 2 more games I wanted to highlight. So on Sunday we get Virginia Tech and South Carolina.
That should be an interesting one.
Yeah, and we get
Virginia Tech plays South Carolina and Vanderbilt back-to-back weeks.
Apparently. And then week 1 we get Notre Dame and Miami on August 31st. That should be a fun one. Woo! Football is back, Ike.
We're literally only like 9 days away or 8 days away, something like that, from the first,
LSU Clemson, man. LSU Clemson. You already know I'm betting the farm on LSU because and fully expecting them to let me down, but it won't stop me from doing it. LSU Clemson week 1 is gonna be fun. There are some fun games. Our guy Chris Phillips over at SEC Unfiltered had a tweet out. Well, I think it was a TikTok that I saw talking about like an October game slate that had like 8 top 25 matchups or something crazy. So crazy. I was like, that looks nuts. He said, look, man, if anybody in your life wants you to do anything on this day but watch college football, just delete them from existence.
Yeah, it's a lot of good games going on. I mean, there's not a lot of bad weeks of football coming up here just because of the matchups that are out there. I'm looking forward to it. We got a couple of super chats I want to get to before we get out of here, though.
All right.
see. Dustin Pace jumps in. Stay away from the stats and focus on the talking points. Baylor fans circa 2025 off season. Hey, if it works for you.
Yeah. Well.
Dustin says, I'm really curious to see how this team responds when adversity hits for the first time in a game. My optimism will be through the roof if handled. I feel you there, Dustin. Definitely ready to get some real talking doing here and get out of the projection time. Keep Kalen in Tuscaloosa. They're pissed off that Stidham left. Is that what the sour grapes from Baylor fans are about? Jared Stidham leaving them to come to Auburn? Is that why you mad?
Possibly.
Baylor's number 1 DV wouldn't break into our 2 deep, says Dustin Pace. I don't even know who Baylor's number 1 DB is. But I'm betting on Auburn's DBs all day and tomorrow. So I would venture to say you're probably right about that. Ben Bloodworth, how many night games does Auburn get this year? I don't know the answer to that because some of them are flex games and all that crap. I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
But we can take a look at that. So Nina, Green Name Gang needs to meet up at a game. I will let y'all figure that out because I'm not coordinating no meetups. It's just too much. We got too much stuff going on game day, man.
Oh my goodness! Now, if there's a tailgate, if somebody in the chat has a tailgate, and you just want to say, "Hey, everybody, stop by this tailgate," that's usually how that works.
Yeah.
Where's that guy Robert?
Yep.
He usually has a good tailgate going.
Dietz says towards our night out in Baylor, Ike. So apparently Dietz is going to be there in Waco. So yeah, man. So now road games are a little different, right? Because that game is going to be a Friday night. Once that game is done, maybe there's some time to go do something after the game. I don't know. Because here's the thing that you guys have to realize with what we're doing for games, right? We get up there a couple of hours before the start of the game to get settled. We're out there trying to catch warm-ups, all this stuff, and Tiger Walk and blah, 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 right? So we're actively working 2 to 3 hours before the game. The entirety of the game happens, and then after the game, we're in there, post-game press conferences, trying to wait, talk to the coach, talk to the players, all that stuff, and you're actively doing stuff maybe another hour and a half to 2 hours after the game. It's a very long day. It's a very long day for us to do stuff, and so depending upon how late that ends up being will determine whether or not I actually feel like doing anything after that game because I have to wake up that next day and get back to Alabama. So we'll see.
Yeah, it is. It is a hectic, especially home games. Remember, we had 5 straight home games last year. And, Freeze talked about how bad that is for fans. Definitely bad for us. It is a much more manageable home away kind of slate this year. So away to start the season, and then two home games before Auburn goes on the road again for another 2 weeks, and then comes home again for another 2 after that. So I like that. And there's a bye week in there. Those next 2 home games, the second set of 2 home games.
High Tide Fishing, appreciate the additional 5 memberships given away. You guys have been amazing tonight. So many great chats out here. Thank y'all so much for supporting. Mike G, tell them other ways that they can support the great work. Well, hold on, we got another super chat. Wait. I was about to close it out. Dustin jumped back in here, says please do a post-game interview with Locked On Baylor. I think Zach probably has that market cornered for post-game interviews with the Locked On folks, but it will be interesting to see what that turns into afterwards. So
we get
somebody's going to be doing a very emphatic "I told you so" dance after this game. The question is, who will it be?
Do we get this one by ADs here that came in at 9:26?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we did. Okay. Yeah, the "I told you so's" after this one are going to be wild. They're going to be super wild. I hope that it is us on the "I told you so" train and not the Baylor folks. Some tells me they will be a lot less gracious than we would be here.
We'll see. JC super chat. Love. Appreciate you very much, JC.
Appreciate that, man.
Again, prayers for JC. You guys go donate if you can. That link is pinned to the top of the chat if you want to give a few dollars over there for JC.
Yes,
Definitely
yes.
do that. All right, Mike G, take us out of here, man. How can they support it?
Well, you guys know the deal. Click that join button. Join as a patron. These live streams, the post games are going to be wild. Thousands of people in here. You want to be a part of that. Our pregame and halftime will be restricted to members only, so make sure you get on that membership before the season starts. I want to thank our title sponsor, the Rage Room. You guys see the addresses there. If you're in the Opelika or Birmingham areas, we got a spot for you to go let some rage out, particularly after an Auburn L. Hopefully there are not a ton of those, and we're sending you guys there to celebrate the wins. But we appreciate the Rage Room for sponsoring this segment. I want to thank our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORTER to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. And our friends at the Vibe Vault to get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. And our friends at SetsForSociety.ai. Get your custom personality assessment started today. This is free to start. So visit them and start down the road, the path to getting to know yourself a little bit better. Check us out on podcast. We are there on your favorite podcast platform, bringing you lots of content that you see here on YouTube and audio only content. So subscribe, turn on automatic downloads, turn on alerts, and turn us up so we can continue to climb those podcast charts.
Yes, indeed. Before you guys get out of here, do the free stuff. Share the video with somebody at the War Report out there. We are live streaming all the time. We're doing content all the time. It'd be easy for you to just hit that like button and the little subscribe button as well to make sure that those numbers continue to climb. We're at the War Report on X and Instagram, TW Report on TikTok. More great content coming your way for the remainder of the week. But we're out of here until the next time. And as always, War Eagle.
Got